What is up, you two? I'm Greg. We got Brian, Des.
Hey.
We are here via satellite, obviously. Disregard the no shirt on my end here. We're going to go ahead and talk about wrestling tonight.
No one's going to bring it up till you said that, you know?
Yeah, that's true. You really just brought it up, drew attention to it.
Trying to, like, show off a bit. No one really gives a fuck, Greg.
No, I could.
No one's buying tickets to the gun show. Shut up.
Okay, there we go. I'm just kidding.
Sorry about ruining your intro. It had to be said.
We got a show we got to do here, guys. Come on, it's our first.
Well, now we're distracted because we can't stop staring at you without a shirt.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and talk about
like the
topics.
black version of Hulk. It's ridiculous.
Don't feed his ego.
Don't feed my ego, please. Anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and get into the topic here of wrestling. We got Raw that was happening tonight. Really good Raw. We're gonna go over that. We have the NBA playoffs that occurred here. We're gonna go into playoffs that we're gonna talk about here. Then of course we have Des's pick of the night. He's gonna go ahead and have a topic for us to go over. So, starting off with Raw, Brian, I'm gonna let you open this one. Your thoughts on that, because you called it out when we were on in a Skype session earlier. What did you think about that opening with Kane and Daniel Bryan?
I loved it. You know, obviously I'm a D. Bryan guy, but you know you hate to see him devastated like that. But I really thought it was a strong start to Raw because it felt a little bit more old school or new school if you want to consider it the beginning of a new era, like we talked about last week. I felt it brought a little bit of an edge back because here you have the face of the company going up against an old school guy, bringing back the Demon Kane with the mask, the whole deal where nobody can control him and everything like that. And just the pure devastation of 3 tombstones. And when was the last time we even seen Kane use the tombstone? So,
you know, here's my thing. Here's my thing about, like I told you earlier when we talked about this, when Kane comes back, his character, the way that he actually just rebuilds himself, it's interesting. Jericho has the same concept as we talked about earlier. Kane has been a consistent guy for years. I mean, years. He's been in there around the same time as Taker. And to see this guy come back and bring back these gimmicks, but somehow adds on a different spark to it, it's pretty badass. I was just expecting, like, Kane to come in, cut a promo that was, you know, a bit more intelligent than others would probably have assumed him to cut, and then go until Kane's going to fight him at Extreme Rules. No, we saw All Out when Kane, like, lost his mask. This was like the PG version of that. That's what it felt like we saw, because when he had raged or whatever the case may be, he wouldn't listen to nobody, he wouldn't stop for nobody. And that's exactly what happened. And you know, a lot of you who don't know, Daniel Bryan's father passed away, so our condolences go out to his family there.
Prayers with him and his family.
He came out, and you can tell when he came out, his eyes were fucking watery. Weren't probably going to expect much from him for that as far as a promo scenario goes, but they sold that well. I think by giving it the angle they did, it's going to make it to where Daniel Bryan's going to have the time off he needs to go through this grieving process, and when he comes back, you know, Extreme Rules is perfect timing. He has a couple of weeks. He can sell it like that. So, you know, and once more, prayers out to his family then. Hopefully it gets better. But I'm looking forward to the Kane-Bryan feud. This has establishment to it. Now, we all know it's not going to be the greatest of a match, but it has establishment to it. And on top of that, it's going to make it to where Daniel Bryan and Kane, for the one-on-one match that we never really saw happen, is finally going to come together here. So it's pretty cool, and it gives still Triple H and the Authority a way to still be involved in it. So I like that.
I like that, you know, I was very curious after Daniel Bryan won the title. Are they going to immediately go to Orton getting a rematch? Because we're so done with just Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton. We've seen it a million times. Exactly. Yeah. So I was wondering, are they going to go that route where everyone's just going to be sleeping during the match? Or are they going to, you know, incorporate Batista into it? And I like this because it makes sense. You know, Kane was under the Authority. Now Stephanie brought back the Monster.
Right.
It makes sense there. They could pull in some of the old history between Kane and Bryan, but I think they're going to try to just put that in the background as if...
You think so?
I don't think they're going to use it. I think it's going to be more I'm talking about their tag team history.
Right, right, because
I don't think they're going to go to that stuff necessarily.
Okay.
I think they're going to more focus in on just Daniel Bryan, his climb to the top, and the fact that his ability to get to the top was a direct slap in the face of Kane, who, under the Authority, was kind of tasked with preventing that.
With preventing that.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to mainly focus on that part, and they're going to stay away from the whole personal history between them.
That's a good angle. That's a realistic angle to sell this whole thing off of. Like it's gonna be definitely, when it comes down to it, these two have history, and that could be a very, very good thing, because when you have a feud with individuals who made an interesting storyline for fucking months, they're gonna produce. And I think no matter if they go option A of using the past or option B, you were supposed to make it to where Daniel Bryan didn't get here, and now look at him. I mean, it's gonna be decent. It's gonna be decent enough. I'm gonna let it run for 2 pay-per-views. That's it. Extreme Rules, and then the pay-per-view in June. After that, transition to something else, because you got SummerSlam you got to look forward to.
What's the next pay-per-view coming out?
So you got Extreme Rules.
Okay.
Yeah, you have Extreme Rules, and then the one in June is I always forget the one in June. I know July is it June or July that's Money in the Bank? July is Money in the Bank.
July. It might be. Is it Battleground or something like that?
There you go. Yeah,
Is it Battleground?
I think they had Battleground in place for the June pay-per-view.
I mean, they constantly change every year. Where there's one that might not return, they incorporate a new one, so it's hard to kind of.
Right. It's the June one has always been inconsistent, because if I'm not mistaken, at the time they had it to where it was like Fatal 4-Way, like they switched it up a lot of times. Let me see, because I know Money in the Bank. I'm almost positive Money in the Bank is. No, Money in the Bank is July, because when they had that whole CM Punk, sorry wrestling fans for hurting you like that again. Sorry for hurting you like that again. But when they had the whole Money in the Bank thing, that was in July, and Punk came back at SummerSlam to fight Cena. Mm-hmm. So Money in the Bank happens for their July pay-per-view. I don't know what they're going to run with for. I don't know what they're going to run with for June, but we'll find out. I heard they've been wanting to do a War Game scenario for the fucking longest time. Last year they used Payback.
Payback for the summer one?
Yeah.
Okay.
For June.
Okay.
See, I miss.
Yeah.
I'll go off on a tangent a little bit. I miss when they had the set pay-per-views.
Thank you.
Where it didn't change every year. And, like, for example, Extreme Rules, you don't necessarily have an idea if you're not a hardcore fan when it falls. But a thing like Backlash, remember the good old days of Backlash? Mm-hmm. You knew Backlash was always the WrestleMania follow-up pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Because it was usually a lot of rematches from WrestleMania where people got multiple shots.
Now, what pay-per-view is the pre-WrestleMania usually?
Well, that used to be No Way Out, and I miss No Way Out. That was a really strong one. But they turned that into Elimination Chamber, and not many people can complain about that because you get a couple of chamber matches usually.
Okay.
It's gonna be, whatever the case may be. I like how they do. I like trying out new things. I'm not knocking WWE for that.
Yeah.
But what I want them to focus on, though, is when you look at the concept of these pay-per-views, you got to make it to where, I love the idea, the themed concept of it, but live up to the expectations.
Right.
Don't make, for instance, Elimination Chamber pisses me off because the full use. Prime example.
Shield versus Wyatt.
Thank you.
Shield versus Wyatt should have been Chamber.
That was a perfect Elimination Chamber match.
And it wasn't?
And they chose to make it.
You know why they didn't, Greg? Because you're not going to see Shield versus Shield or Wyatt versus Wyatt.
They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that, obviously, right?
I thought about that, because originally I thought it should have been in the chamber. And I started
because the whole timing.
And it would have to trade eliminations, and they'd have to go back and forth the whole time.
And if they believed in these kind of pay-per-view events, they could have done, not pay-per-view, but types of matches anymore, I should say. They could have gone with something like a tag team, like Battle Royal, kind of, where everybody.
You don't add enough stipulations to make a match more interesting.
Now,
like Extreme Rules, as far as I know right now, there's only one match with a stipulation. That's Bray versus Cena in the steel cage.
Now, can you see
that doesn't sound all that extreme for all the others.
Now, moving future and like towards the future, can you see them doing something like that, or the Shield versus Shield, or Wyatt versus Wyatt, in that kind of sense?
They've done it now to the point where they don't really have a reason to go back to it.
Okay.
Maybe when they were initially doing it, it would work. Maybe if they made some weird roundabout thing where they both lasted, a significant period of time, and once again we're butting heads for dominance.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't see them going that route again.
Yeah.
For me, the concept of a pay-per-view that I think they've only done once so far, and I loved it because they stayed true to the theme, was Breaking Point, where every match was a submission match.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
And that pay-per-view was
amazing.
underrated. That pay-per-view was underrated. I like Breaking Point. If they can go with themes like that and actually sell it with the pay-per-view, I'm all for it. But they have to make it to where it's established to the point of where when you sell these pay-per-views, make it to where you want people to buy it. It doesn't even have to be the greatest of matches. Just the stipulations alone could possibly sell it. So
changing every year, it doesn't help their cause because it's like, oh, buy tickets now to this pay-per-view. And it's some new name where people go, well, I don't know what to expect out of that.
Unless it's a hitter. Money in the Bank was a hitter.
Always will be.
Always will be.
Well, you already knew the concept of Money in the Bank going.
We did. Extreme Rules and Money in the Bank have lasted, and those two have always been pretty damn good.
TLC is a good one.
TLC has lasted. They can do it. They just got to find the grounds to do so. That's all it is.
Bring back Breaking Point. I'm telling you.
Breaking
DX versus Legacy. You remember that tag?
That was a fucking
match,
badass.
first time ever.
That's when I thought Legacy was gonna be somebody, and obviously we were so wrong on that scenario. But
we've gotten off enough of a tangent.
Yeah, but okay. So looking at the rest of Raw here, so I mean it's pretty much to where WWE is getting to a point now that they're out of WrestleMania 30. They're obviously trying to take a new direction, as we talked about in the last podcast. Bringing in wrestlers who are actually wrestlers. I'm giving them 100% respect for it. They're building the brand around the people who they already have there. They have these guys there already. So you got Shield, you got the Usos that you're continuing to build up, you got Cesaro who you're pushing now, Swagger who's already being pushed. I mean, you got a whole roster full of individuals who you're now just selling on there. And I love that concept. And if they keep going with this summer is going to be a hell of a fucking next 4 months for wrestling fans. It's going to make it to where the product is going to be worth watching. It's going to be something worth seeing. And by the time it gets to SummerSlam, they can make SummerSlam that juggernaut pay-per-view that it usually is. Well, they did good last year.
Biggest difference, pre-WrestleMania and post-WrestleMania. Pre-WrestleMania, there were a lot of filler matches where you'd see Big Show beat somebody quickly. Or Mark Henry have some pointless match that led to nothing. You notice those guys weren't even on Raw tonight.
No.
And the reason is you have Khrushchev, for example, running through Sin Cara on his way, climbing up the ladder.
And
you have Emma having a match. I know Emma's match was stupid, but it's still younger talent now getting a shot.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see Bo Dallas eventually, whether you love or hate the guy. We're gonna see.
I'm not a believer. I can't.
We're gonna see Adam Rose. Whoa!
Yeah,
he's gonna be a beast.
Woo!
I'm gonna love that guy. He's a fucking monster, dude.
I love Adam Rose.
Adam Rose. We're gonna see these new guys come up. Where I've noticed where guys like Show and Mark Henry are more at is gonna be on SmackDown. They're more so there. And it works there though, because you got to build SmackDown, and whatever strategy they've been doing, it's been doing that. They're getting viewers there. They're making it to where, hey, we can still put over our new talent, but we can still use the ones we have. You got SmackDown, you got the income generating or the profit generating from the network. You can use the guys there. It's working. Whatever you're doing right now, WWE, keep going forward.
Now, they have to be careful. They could reach an area where they establish enough of these young people, and then they have all these veterans. Somebody might come along and go, hey, let's split the brand rosters again.
And
it could work depending on how they do it.
I was just about to say that. It could.
We'll see.
It could work. But that's the time. Whatever the case would be, I don't know where it's going to fully go just yet.
It's way down the road.
But exactly. I'd say that's like 3 years thinking ahead. Mm-hmm. Whatever you do, keep going. Now, another key point that was on Raw tonight was, Paul Heyman, with this Brock Lesnar conquering the streak thing.
He's just trying to get heat.
It's selling him like unbelievably more than what I didn't think Paul Heyman could get more heat. And he fucking has.
And he's putting it on Cesaro immediately, which is Genius.
So you're selling this shit. You're selling this shit in the scenario to where you're not only pulling over Cesaro with you being so fucking, what is the word that I'm looking for?
Obnoxious?
Obnoxious. With you being so obnoxious, you're putting over Cesaro, and at the same time, you're selling the fact that Taker's streak is over. At the same time, you're selling Brock Lesnar, and at the same time, you are putting yourself over as the greatest manager of all time. One of the greatest managers of all time.
The only issue I have with that whole angle, and you and I said it while we were watching it tonight, Cesaro's intro sucks. It's some generic, horrible sound effect followed by generic rock music.
It was. I don't know.
I understand they couldn't let him keep the Real American thing because even though that theme is really popular and all the fans now hum it when it plays for Swagger or anybody, they could have done something better. Maybe it's just one of those like tweeners, like Wade Barrett's had 7 million different intro songs, but
if you were struggling this much to put together this man's intro, why not just go back to his original one for right now and then give him a new one whenever you get it figured out?
Kind of fucked up.
I wanted to say, like, they could have worked with that, but Cesaro is over with the crowd regardless. Throw in Paul Heyman, that's going to make it that much more interesting. We're going to see where that goes. But Heyman did a great job cutting his promo.
Yep.
I did not expect to see Cesaro lose in this Intercontinental Championship
I didn't
tournament.
know what they were going to do because they just brought RVD back.
It's gonna be
so
Swagger.
I sat there going, are they going to really just bring RVD back to immediately have him knocked out of a title tournament?
It's gonna be Swagger versus Cesaro at Extreme Rules.
Yep.
That's gonna be one of the matches.
Give it a stipulation, please.
And I think there will be. And I think we're gonna see Wade Barrett versus Big E, which I'm all for. That's gonna be a good match.
And I would like to see Barrett actually be the one to end Big E's reign because it's always more interesting when Barrett's a champion.
He's a great heel, and he never got that opportunity when he was super over. But I mean, this is this bad news
back over now.
This bad news Barrett thing, it put him over, dude. Everybody when they hear, I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
Everyone says it with him.
They sell.
Everyone says boom when he yells boom.
Yeah.
Like everything is clicking for him right now.
They're doing right with him, and they just need to keep fucking going. So, I mean, either way, Cesaro has Paul Heyman. He's not going to lose momentum. So I think it's a smart idea. Going more in, like I said, we're touching the key topics of Raw here. Bray Wyatt's...
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to go Evolution Shield.
Oh, that's going to come after this. But Bray Wyatt's promos for these past 2 weeks...
The man is untouchable on the mic.
You haven't seen anybody like that since Punk, who's really been able. And Punk had his own blunt way of going about how he did his promos.
He did things with an honest tear down the fourth, there's no fourth wall or anything like that, where he exposed the behind the scenes.
Right. He defined breaking that glass ceiling. CM Punk defined that. What Bray Wyatt does is he embodies his character so well that you believe it, that everybody watching believes it. You all get the concept that Bray Wyatt is fucking over to the extent of when you can get 10,000 plus people to saying he's got the whole world in his hands and to actually go with you on votes. He was talking as if he was running for fucking president. Like that promo recently.
It's the genius of the gimmick. The gimmick is brilliant. But if you peel back all the layers, you peel back all the rhetoric he spews every time he talks, which I love, he's basically the voice of the fans the way Punk was. But not like the kid fans like Punk was at times. He's appealing to those of us that love the heel and the real hardcore fans that are tired of Cena and tired of the same old thing that have been calling for change. Bray's sitting there putting all this gimmick on around it, but at the core, he wants change. And nothing gets you over quicker with a lot of the fans than demanding change when something's become stale.
I agree.
John Cena's become the poster boy of stale. It's the same
for the longest time too.
It's put him in the ring, I love what I do. I've been doing it forever. You can't see me. Insert funny joke about my upcoming opponent.
Yeah.
That's a typical John Cena promo, and it hasn't changed. And now Bray, even just in his rivalry, even though the change hasn't necessarily begun, now you've got Cena having to talk about, fighting a monster within, and this whole other angle of the real Cena being buried down below, and it's making us even look at Cena differently. Yeah. And if Bray is able to bring that out, the possibilities are endless for where they could go with it.
Here's the thing, though, is with this whole Bray Wyatt Cena thing, it's like we talked about last week. With the momentum that this guy is going with right now, Bray cannot lose anymore. No. Not for the next 2 months. He cannot lose. You have to make it to where he gets over on Cena. I don't care how much it hurts his pride. He needs to get, and I'm a Cena fucking fan. He needs to get over on Cena. Once he gets over on Cena, then he'll be able to adapt and go on to whatever the next big task is, whatever that may be. Because once you go from Cena, one can only imagine what the hell is next for this guy. So, I mean, I'm curious to see how that goes. We're going to see that, but he needs to get this win over Cena.
The formula seems to be you can get over with promos and, sneak attacks and things of that nature to a certain extent, but there comes a point where it has to be wins. And not just wins. It can't be like Randy Orton wins from years ago where it used to be a low blow here, a DQ there, some help from Legacy here. It's got to be legit wins. Bray took that first step when he beat Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble. One-on-one, no outside interference, no cheating. Yeah. That's the same step he now has to take with Cena.
I agree.
To bring this guy, I mean, it's just to bring him. You got to remember his first match, and I was there for his first match. I was fortunate enough for it. Was that Inferno match against fucking Kane at SummerSlam? How many people can say their first match was an Inferno? I mean, regardless on if it was a legit Inferno match or not. Like compared to like fucking old school, there's nothing touching it. But that was an Inferno match that started off this guy's career,
especially against Kane too.
Yeah. Against Kane, we just talked about.
And he may have gotten the win shady, like I was talking about, but that early on in the career, you take a win as whatever.
Right. And now he's at a point now where he can legit get over by himself without having to win in any shitty way. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be good there. Let's go ahead and close this WWE topic off here with the ending of Raw. Well, not the ending of Raw, but I'm going to say mid-segment of Raw with Evolution and S.H.I.E.L.D. Mm-hmm. That promo between the two, and we talked about this here. The way they did that fucking Titantron for them, mind blown. Mm-hmm. That shit was legit.
It was the first thing I noticed. It wasn't them coming out. It was the Titantron playing behind them at the before and after of each person, the then and now.
Yeah. They did a hell of a job. I mean, WWE's production team is fucking amazing. I mean, they make some of these sickest videos ever. But I mean, Evolution, I like the concept now of they're selling this now. Like, Evolution, the whole point was getting these guys over. Now that Orton and Batista are over now, and Triple H, even himself, has evolved. Because now we have the businessman and we have the diamonds that were made out of the Evolution concept. And now these are top guys who are just fucking sitting up there, and they don't have to answer to anybody. They are the bosses. And then to sell S.H.I.E.L.D. as the rebels, now, I think S.H.I.E.L.D.'s words could have been a little bit better from Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, but they did good for what it was worth for the promo. Mm-hmm. It was a solid promo. It was believable, and it built the match that much more in Extreme Rules.
I agree the words could have been better, but I think the important part is always how you end a promo. The last thing you say. Yeah. And I think Seth bounced back really nicely by saying that, making that match was the last nail in their coffin. And at Extreme Rules, we're going to hammer the nail home. Yeah. I loved that line. It was perfectly delivered, and it got the reaction from the crowd that just kind of put it over the top a little.
And with Batista taking the time off that he is, one would only assume that S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to fucking possibly do a WrestleMania bury the way they did to the New Age Outlaws and Kane at Mania. So who knows? We'll see about that. It was a great Raw overall once more. This is like 3 weeks straight where it's been running strong, so hopefully they keep it going. So now, for all of my...
Next, what?
Oh God.
No.
NBA fans there.
No.
Right there.
No.
The Spurs, baby. Let's talk about the playoffs.
Let's talk about it.
Des, can you show the people your jersey? What are you wearing right now? Let them see.
Well, that's not cool. They're not even there.
They're not even there. They're not even there.
They've gone fishing.
Now, let me ask you a question, Kills. What's your favorite team?
I don't have a favorite team necessarily. You know, I'm a Heat guy, big time. Always been a LeBron fan and a Wade fan, both of them. But, you know, if I had to pick a team, I really like Golden State, who every time you see me look away from the computer, I'm watching Golden State, unfortunately, getting their ass kicked. But they stole the first game from the Clips. I like them in the series. I'm a big Curry fan.
Now,
so.
Okay.
Curry fan, I'm a huge fan of Curry as well. Golden State, I don't know. I'm a fan of them, but over the Clippers, I pick Clippers over them, obviously. But that's how I feel because I'm an LA guy.
Let's look at it like this, guys. Okay, so we're all aware. We're sports fans here. We know the concept of the playoffs. Best out of 7.
Right.
So let's go ahead and run through the bracket for game ones here.
Okay.
So let's start off with Miami-Charlotte. Brian, what are you calling that series to be?
Sweep. Calling for a sweep. I think it's going to be 4-0 Miami. Charlotte, you know, gave them a real tough first game. They might give them a couple more. But I think I saw the stat that since 2010, they're like 11-0 against Charlotte or something like that, haven't lost.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to start now.
Okay.
Des.
I'm going to give Charlotte the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to have them win one game against Miami. What about you, Greg?
I'm going to say originally, now, here's my overall prediction for round 1. I see OKC or Heat getting upset in round 1, meaning I see one of those teams being eliminated.
It's possible.
You see the Bobcats knocking out.
I was going to say, yeah. So now we've watched games. We watched 1 or 2 games now for both of these series. I think it's more evident than ever that OKC is. This is me calling this. This is just my personal opinion. OKC will get eliminated, and I'm going to say Heat are going to beat the Bobcats in 6. That's what I say.
I feel that Dallas has more of a chance of beating the Spurs than the Bobcats beating the Heat.
Oh,
okay, so
since we want to talk about my city and we want to talk about let's go to the San Antonio Dallas series. Let's jump to that one.
Okay,
Brian, your prediction, Brian.
Okay, I don't have a horse in this race, so I have no bias towards one or the other. I think San Antonio is going to win the series. I think it's going to be a tough one. I don't see Dallas being that great. Dirk really underperformed that first game. I see it going 6 tops. I don't necessarily even see it getting to that 6th game.
Okay.
I think San Antonio is just too proven in the playoffs, and the Mavs.
Well, they made the playoffs too, just as much as the Spurs. They've only missed how many playoffs these past couple years?
They have, but they need literally every person on their team to bring their top performance, while the Spurs need.
They don't. The Spurs. Dallas no longer has an established team the way it did when they won the championship a few years ago.
I agree.
They got rid of everybody.
They're a good team. I'm not selling Dallas short. It's an unfavorable matchup. It's a tough matchup.
I like both the Spurs and the Mavs. I may like the Spurs a little bit more than the Mavs just because I fucking hate Cuban. Okay? But I like Leonard. But I do feel that it may go up to 7 games with possibly Dallas stealing it.
See, here's the problem. The only argument I can ever make against San Antonio is their age.
But they're not that old. Not anymore.
Some are. The important pieces to the puzzle are.
I was going to say, our fundamentals, yes.
But hold on, Greg. The problem is, and the reason I don't think the Mavs are going to be the team, is the Mavs are not a young team.
No, they're not either.
Dirk's not young. Vince Carter, you're looking at an older team as well. It's not going to be an older team that knocks off.
And the thing about when they played game 1 with this series is they both played, we played sloppy ball. Mm-hmm. Dallas played sloppy ball. The only thing that got us over is in the third quarter, when we were getting our ass whooped, something just lit a fire in our ass and said, hey, we need to get this together. And thankfully, we were able to come back. And then the fourth, we made that comeback. And when it was 81-71, I was freaking out. I thought that was it. But they made the comeback. They did what they needed to do, and they showed consistency. And that's the thing that I liked most. That's the thing that got that whole arena just fucking crazy. So I say San Antonio in 5.
Now,
that's what I say.
Let me ask you, how do you guys feel between the Portland and Houston game?
I'm going Portland. I'm going to say Portland in 6 or 7.
I agree. I'm with you there.
Houston's a great team. I don't like them, but they're a great team.
Same here.
But I think Portland is a little bit more of a complete team.
Yeah.
And I think there's more balance where, for Houston to win, you need Dwight Howard to have a strong game, and you need Harden to have a strong game. But for Harden to have a strong game, it seems he's got to have a million shots.
How I see it,
or they hit all their threes, you're never gonna beat them if they.
As you can see, guys, I'm obviously a Laker fan, so I'm kind of salty about the whole Dwight Howard thing too. But this is how I see it. You got to see who's hungrier and who has more to prove. And was it?
Well, that would be Houston.
No, but you have to look at a Portland point of view. No one thought in the beginning of the season that Portland would even make the playoffs or make how far they did, Especially a bunch of young...
Their record!
Yeah.
No one. Portland was at a time at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
They were almost in that number one
spot.
No
one expected that.
The beginning of the season would be before the season started. Right?
They were in the number 1 seed for I don't even know how long. But they were there, and no one expected that. So you got to look at people like Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge, and you have to see, they got something to prove. The only person that has something to prove on Houston is Dwight Howard. And even then, he's still shitting the bed.
I don't agree with that. I think Houston has more to prove than anything because they have the hype already, but they have expectations that they have to live up to.
The moment they got Dwight Howard, everyone's like, "Oh, NBA Finals."
Yeah. Dwight Howard, James Harden, those two alone, and then even and a lot of people, Jeremy Lin's not as fucking high on his high horse as he was before. Mm-hmm. Not that he was high, but
Chandler Parsons, the player watching that.
Chandler Parsons is the underdog. Nobody expected him to be as good as he is. Jeremy Lin is a decent player. I'm not saying he's as good as all that hype that was surrounding around him, but Jeremy Lin is a decent player. Houston has the things that they need to be a championship team, but they got to put the pieces together. I say Houston in 6.
No,
that's my prediction.
No.
I say Houston in 6
because then you have to. When it comes to the whole thing with, you got to have a big guy towards the final seconds or the final 2 minutes of the quarter to protect the rim, especially if it's such a close game. Who are you going to put out there? And this happened with Shaq as well. Can you count on Dwight Howard to make the free throws when they need to be made? That's the thing.
Well, they're not going to not have him out there.
I think, honestly, James Harden will have that ball in crunch time scenarios like that before Dwight Howard will. Dwight Howard would be there for the rebound, and he can get fouled, of course, there. But James Harden is going to be more likely to get fouled than
he's their first option every time.
Yeah.
Isn't that why they lost as well, because he missed 2 free throws for that final for the Portland game?
They lost because the refs were full of shit. That's why they lost.
Did they step on the line, Gray?
We're gonna stay away from referee discussions in these games. We're gonna keep this strictly about matchups between teams.
We're gonna keep this straight on the line, Greg. All right.
Are there any? I think another matchup we at least have to touch on. If we don't touch on all of them, we have to touch on the Pacers series.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I was gonna get the predictions for all. Okay, so let's start with it. What's your prediction for that one?
I think that's a 7-game series, and part of me really thinks Atlanta might be able to pull it out, even though they don't have a track record. And in fact, their track record against Indy just in general is terrible. But the Pacers are a mess, man. The last 2 months of the season, the first playoff game, they spend all season saying all we need to do is get home court. That's it. They get home court, and they lose the first game against the 8 seed. And this is an 8 seed that was below 500. It's not like the 8 seed out west where you're sitting there and going, that's a dangerous Mavs team. It's completely different.
Here I see for the Pacers, I feel I'm going to take 6. I'm going to take them 6 games, okay? I'm going to have them win. Here's my issue. I feel that they're good enough team where they should be able to snap and know, all right, we got it. It's the playoffs. We're not in regular season no more. We got to get our shit together. I feel
they've been trying for the last 2 months.
I feel I can guarantee the next game it's gonna snap. and it's gonna be a disgusting game, a blowout.
Oh, I believe they're going to come back way stronger in that second game. But I don't know if they can be that. And we talked about the Warriors like this. Consistent. Consistency is the key come playoffs. And I love my Warriors, but they are one of the least consistent teams in the league. They're a dangerous team. Nobody wanted to face them because if they got hot, you lose a series. We saw that last year against them. In this case, it's not so much the Pacers' opponent they have to worry about, it's themselves. They're not consistent enough for the last few months.
And that's what they could snap into. I mean,
yeah, they absolutely could if they find themselves.
The only way I'm going to go on and just I'm going to get. I mean, you guys have brought up pretty much everything that I was going to consider there as far as looking over this team. Indiana has not been the team that they were a few months ago. It was just like after All-Star, they just kind of went in a decline. I'm going to say Indiana in 7, but this is going to be a very, very close Indiana in 7, without a doubt. And I feel as far as if they get their shit together, that's the only team that's really going to be able to stop Miami in the East. So they got to do something, and if they don't, then well, fuck.
Do you think Brooklyn has a chance with Miami?
I was just about to say. So let's look at Brooklyn and Toronto. What do you say Brooklyn and Toronto becomes?
I like Toronto, but also like Brooklyn. I'm a huge fan of KG. I always have, even though he was a Celtic. I fucking hate the Celtics, but I feel that they'll probably win that in 6 as well.
Okay, I say Brooklyn sweeps.
You think so?
Really?
I think Brooklyn sweeps.
Wow. Brooklyn's playing great basketball, and I hate Brooklyn. I knew Toronto needed to win that first game.
Agreed. For their own self-esteem purpose. I agree.
I'm happy for the city of Toronto, though. I'll give you that. I'm proud that...
Oh, I'm ecstatic for them. I think Toronto's going to come back and win Game 2. I don't know what they're going to do, though, when the series goes to Brooklyn. I think just because of my uncertainty in that matchup and my dislike of the Nets might have a role to play in this prediction, I think the series is going to go 7 and then flip a coin for that Game 7. I think it's a very tough matchup for both teams because, once again, you have the old team that has to worry about wear and tear the longer the series drags on, and then you have that young team that's got no playoff experience whatsoever. So you sit there and something's got to give.
Right. But they're hungry. And I think that's the only thing that Toronto's going to hold on to is they're to me they're the least likely to be as far as any kind of like wise when it goes past round 2 or round 2 at that. But I'm curious to see what they do, and I'm curious to see if they have that hunger, if it really gets them to a Game 7. I see Brooklyn sweeping them because Brooklyn's going to outsmart them. They have the fundamentals that they need. They have the players they need. They have the shooters that they need to put Toronto out. So, I mean, it's just that series is going to be interesting to watch, but I still say Brooklyn sweeps it.
Stats from the first game that stood out to me was the huge number of turnovers from Toronto, and I think a lot of that was them coming out too amped up, too excited for this game, where they made poor decisions with the basketball. The other one, and I am a big statistics guy, the most telling statistic in that game for how Brooklyn should have lost was they were 0 for their last 19 from beyond 3. That's terrible. Number one, that's a lot of 3 attempts, which means they're not getting into the paint, which is the key to success, I think, in that matchup. And the fact that they missed 0-19 after starting like 4 for 6 or something like
that's shitty. That's shitty. But I mean, I'm not gonna let those. I'm not gonna let game win stats. Like I said, even like if that's going back to say when Spurs played sloppy, I'm not gonna let game one determine everything going forward. No. But it's not a good start though. So like you said, stats wise. So let's go ahead and finish off the East here, and I believe we got one more team to look at, or one more game in the West. But Chicago, Washington.
It's funny how irrelevant those two teams have become in these playoffs. It's really sad.
Well, it's surprising
really
the
are.
Bulls are. 'Cause
Yeah,
you would think the Bulls,
right.
you know,
I was like,
always draw attention.
I'm like,
But Derrick Rose being injured, they've lost all credibility, unfortunately.
and that nobody, gives a second thought about Washington. But we saw in Game 1, hey, maybe we should wake up and pay attention to Washington.
now, what do you do with the Bulls, given the fact that Derrick Rose been injured twice already, like that?
Wow, that's not a playoff thing.
Well,
That's
like, how can you see
that's
them?
a franchise in a little bit of.
But it's including the playoffs. How can you see them going, like, any kind of future with?
They could get past the first round.
They've proven it before. They did it. They did it last year, if I'm not mistaken. Chicago is not a bad team, but they've definitely lost some contender pretty much outlook from people because nobody's going to take them serious anymore. They don't have their star player. Derrick Rose is what he was becoming to be. And so, the players that they do have, they still have great players, but they can't build a team around those guys alone. They need somebody else to help them. And I don't know who that somebody else is going to be. It could be somebody as simple as from this year's draft. It could be anything. But I see Chicago coming back, and I see Chicago taking it in 5. That's what I say.
I say Washington.
I'd say Chicago in 6.
Washington in 6.
I think Washington will get a home game win.
But yeah.
I don't think Washington can do it. Even though they're a talented team, I just think Chicago will get the defense together.
Yeah.
And Joakim Noah will start to take over that series.
You know what? And so, okay, so I forgot. We actually have 2 more. We have 2 more brackets here, and then we're going to move over to the next topic to end this off. Mm-hmm. We have OKC and Memphis.
I'm going to go Memphis.
Memphis in fucking 6.
And it's not a knock on OKC, because I like OKC. They're a very good team. Right. Very good. But Memphis is not a typical 7 seed.
No, their defense is ridiculous.
Memphis is, we have seen them knock off great teams. They are road warriors. We saw that tonight in Game 2, right? Now the series tied at 1.
Yep.
So, I mean...
I'm a huge fan of Marcus All, by the way. Huge fan.
He's a great
defensively,
player.
when they can dictate the pace and when they're getting into the paint and slowing the game down,
it's ridiculous.
Thunder cannot play that slow tempo.
That team will beat you up. That team, Memphis will beat you up. Like that's what they've always. That's how they beat us when we played us.
Keels,
Memphis will beat you up.
Keels, do you know what the turnover ratio is for the Thunder, especially how fast they play against a slow team like Memphis?
Oh, I'm sure it's light years difference when they get out and run and play fast teams that probably make mistakes and they probably create turnovers and don't turn it over often. But against a slow tempo team like Memphis, I'm sure they have a huge number of turnovers against that half court D.
It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It's. I'm going to be curious to see, Des, what do you call this series ending at?
Memphis 6. Memphis in 5 or 6.
Okay.
I'm going to take.
I won't go 5. I think 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
I think 6 or 7. Yeah. And so we're finally on the same page with one thing here. Yeah. Okay, so let's end this off here. Des, your lovely Clippers versus Golden State, which is currently on right now.
Okay.
And let me just say, even though it's going to hurt me a little bit, the Clippers had 102 at the end of the third quarter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Golden State wasn't never known as a defensive team as well. They've always been known for offensive. So, it's going to
Well, they're a defensive team when Andrew Bogut can play, but he's out the whole series.
It's going to be, these two both are solid contenders there as far as when it comes down to being in the playoff there. I believe they're underdogs. But I see Clippers taking this because Clippers have got to the point where they have more to prove.
Right.
Golden State went far last year. I mean, Golden State did a great job when we played them. We had a hard time taking them out. But I think Clippers are going to be a little bit more ambitious here, and they're going to be the ones who take it. I'm going to say they take it.
It's very personal between the two teams. Which
that too.
Enough motivation for either of them.
Which makes me think Clippers in 7.
The thing about the Clippers, they can either play a fast game or a slow tempo game.
Yeah, they're flexible that way.
I mean, so they're able to match up nicely with. I think when it comes to, I think they're a lot more weaker against fast-paced teams. Kind of given why the pace. I mean, Golden State Warriors gave them trouble on the first game. But I'm gonna take Clippers in 6. Actually, I really do think that they'll. Well, obviously they destroyed the Golden State today, but you know.
It's getting ugly. 117-81 with 8 minutes to go.
So, oh my god. So,
it kills me because, like I said, I'm a Golden State guy. I'm probably gonna pick the Clippers in about 6, just because Golden State without Bogut, I think it hurts too much because you have Blake Griffin, you have DeAndre Jordan, you just have that size in the middle. You have a much better bench than Golden State has.
I think the best bench.
Golden State. Curry seems to be struggling immensely in this series. Even the first game, which they won, he didn't play all that well. The consistency is, once again, the key, and I think Clippers are more consistent, so they're going to get the series.
Okay. So we'll be keeping up, guys. As far as looking over when it gets to round 2, we'll give our predictions on one of our podcasts whenever it gets to that, see how that goes, and we'll see exactly what added up and what didn't. So let's go ahead and get this going here. Let's end this off. Des?
All right.
Topic of the night.
Let's hear it.
All right, tonight's topic of the night. We've obviously talked about this before, but I want to update it. Updated version to it. So tonight I want to talk about sensitivity and double standards. Okay. Okay.
A classic.
Okay. So I'm gonna use an example because yesterday I was hanging out. I was chilling. I was just doing my homework. And have you guys seen these new websites like, farmersmeat.com or blackpeoplemeat.com, Greg,
I have not seen them, but I know of them.
Okay.
Oh, fuck you guys for that, by the way.
What are you talking about,
By the way,
Greg?
we tried making Greg a fake profile on Black People Meat to hook him up with a nice young lady, but it didn't work out.
Just trying to help you out, bro.
Okay, so, when you see a website like Asian Meat or blackpeoplemeat.com, how do you feel about it? Personally,
I have no issue with that.
Okay, Greg, how do you feel about it? Like, how do you see it? Does it bug you or does it not bug you?
Fucking stupid.
Okay.
I mean, we have enough from fucking eHarmony
to
yes
Max.
Or
no,
we have
Greg.
so many.
Yeah, it's not a diatribe we're looking for here. Just
okay.
I think it's stupid.
I think the average person will say, okay, that's not a big deal. All right. But what if someone made a whitepeoplemeat.com? Why does there such outrage from that? If there was to be.
Because my people are like that.
It's not even your people.
I think Mike actually said it best. I really think that's what it is. Because the moment anything is made with the word white in it that has to do with race, it's, why do they get a website?
Like, motherfucker, you had Black People Meat for the longest time.
I really think that's what it comes down to. And it's not... I have no problem with the other versions of the sites because those people have every right to have access to something where, it's more what they're looking for. It makes it easier to find what they're searching for. Doesn't make them racist, it just makes it a preference. However, because of that existing double standard with race in our country today, I think you're right. If somebody made a whitepeoplemeat.com, it would be received very harshly by critics.
Right. Now, have you guys ever heard of the fitness club called Shapes?
Not. I don't think so.
It's basically a gym where only women are allowed to join. Okay.
Once again, I know where this. I have no issue with it because women have the right to work out without having men leering at them, making them feel uncomfortable.
But when guys make a thing like that, why is it where they come out saying no equality? It's sexist.
I'm not sure that's necessarily true based on gyms.
Well, it's not gyms.
Other things, I don't think it applies in a gym, but if we took it outside the context of a gym, then that there's certainly still that double standard that exists.
It's a gray area to an extent, but you got to think about scenarios like, I mean, if you're getting checked out, ladies, at the gym, it's a compliment. I mean, obviously you're doing something right. Because if you go to a gym where it's all women, here's my concept of it. If you go to the gym that's all women, most likely about 60% of you are going to lose your motivation because you're not going to think you look as good as you thought you did. Hence, going to a gym where it's a mixed gender scenario there, and you see that guys are checking you out, you're going to be like, hey, I'm obviously doing something right. So you're going to have more motivation.
Regardless where you go, you're going to be checked out. There might be like 2 or 3 lesbians in that girl's gym.
Either way.
Yeah.
Suck it up, ladies. Show whatever you got to show. Let them know what you got. I mean, it's not...
Just coming from the guy not wearing a shirt.
Show off what you got, ladies. If you're in a gym and somebody's checking you out, take it as a compliment. If they're over there trying to grope on you and feeling you, then yeah, you might want to go to a different gym.
Obviously.
But if they're just looking at you, they're fucking... You look good. Show them what you got, girl. Seriously. Come on now. Come on.
Tell me some more scenarios, Des, because this is what's going to end up happening.
I'm just trying to think of some. I want to know, like, what are some things you guys seen where, like, well, that's kind of fucked up, you know? Greg, have you ever been in a situation where just, like, man, if I don't know, like, a double standard kind of view? It could be towards anything, because I know you like talking about females, so, I mean, is there something that really kind of, like, makes you mad in general when it comes to double standards?
I'm interested to hear this from his side of the double standard.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, you know what? Let's do it like this because my mind is processing so many different ways to look at this. Give me an example to go off of, and I will give you an answer to it.
Well, it could be. It doesn't have to be racial at all. It could be maybe the double standard of a chick you're talking to saying she won't do this, but then you know she done it with another guy or something with an ex, or it's just in general speaking something that they say they wouldn't do but they did it, kind of like it contradicts what they done, or a double standard. It could be towards anything.
A relationship double standard is easily one of the most frustrating things to deal with in the world, and it's usually the end cause of most relationships.
So I'm not going to go with race here because that's the obvious.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in and take it a step above. Now, or I guess technically fucking a step below. It's just when you have here's the thing with those double standards things. Females have a tendency of making it to where they will sit there and they will sell their asses off, making you believe something that they've built up as a lie to be a truth on their own. And what I mean by that is you could sit here and you can meet a girl tomorrow.
Okay.
You can meet a girl tomorrow who says, you know what? I mean, as far, and this could be now taking, this is going to get a little past PG, so if you have kids, put the earmuffs on. If you talk to a chick who says that she never goes down in the guy or she won't do it, it's just something she doesn't believe in.
Right.
And then you hear a story or you see social media kills you, ladies. I don't know if you get the
social media kills everyone.
It really
is. It's not just ladies.
If you're
just a sidetrack. This is just a side story. There's this chick who I've pretty much been talking to for a quite a while. Now, it's never really been serious, but it's kind of been dragged out. So this girl seems like she's all about me, but there's something where I'm kind of like, I don't really want to give her all of my attention because there's something iffy about her.
Shadiness.
Dude, her Facebook, Twitter, and any other social media stream she has gives her away so well. Like the other dudes who she's pretty much fucking with her, the other dudes who she's talking to are clearly like, and it's not like, it's just, it's there. If you have me as a friend or if you follow me on Twitter or if you know that I follow you on Twitter, why would you put that shit out there and then text me, hey, babe, or something like that? Yeah. Like, get out of here with that.
The ones you got to be careful for when it comes to chicks are the ones that call you baby within the first 2 days. Okay?
Agreed.
Those that just shows that, if they could say it's easy to you.
Wrapped around their finger.
Right. How easy chicks who say they don't have a Facebook or Twitter because damn well everyone has one of them. So either she's trying to hide something, because like Greg, like what you said, and Keels, the Facebook page gives away everything. A chick
Kills 'em.
A chick might come at you.
It's sad that the time period we live in, that Facebook is the window to our soul.
A chick might come at you with some shit, and you may think, all right, this chick is cool. She seems she seems classy. She seems like she has a good head on her shoulders. And once you see that Facebook page, you're just like, what the
that
fuck?
Facebook page, though, I'm telling you.
And it's not even the Facebook page. It's like the stuff she's tagged in, or the stuff you can't really control.
Bro, the fucking end-all, be-all. The worst part is it was not, like the one I'm talking about, it wasn't Facebook that killed her. I knew it was on Facebook. Don't get me wrong, I'm not stupid. This is why I did not take her serious, and I will never take her serious. It's Twitter. Twitter killed her, because Twitter, she put all of her shit out there. I mean, everything. And I'm sitting there and I'm laughing at these, because while she's posting these, she's still texting me. And I'm just kind of like I'm looking at the text messages, and I'm like, I'm not even responding. And it's like hit after hit after hit.
Now, what was
laughing.
she saying on Twitter that made you not fucking, that just...
You know what? I'm going to share this video on my Facebook page. If she chooses to listen to this, and you know who you are, yeah, sorry, not sorry. Look, she had a status on Twitter to where she was pretty much saying practically that, oh man, I need to have sex. I need to have this.
Clearly. I need to have this.
And I'm like, I don't remember the exact tweet, but I saw this and I'm like, okay. And so this dude, or one of the followers or whatever, they replied back to her, and she's like, no, I can't do it now. Maybe tomorrow, though. I wasn't seeing her tomorrow, so you know. But I'm going
to left to the imagination. Somebody was.
I'm about to say, obviously, somebody is seeing you tomorrow. If you're going to be bold enough to say that. When I saw that dude, the plans I had, all of that, I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to waste my time.
You know what? Number one thing on Facebook, number one sign to stay away from a girl because of something on Facebook, and it should go without saying, is if her relationship status says it's complicated. Fuck that.
No, you're
Get
right.
out.
You're right.
Don't even bark up that tree.
You're
Just
right.
fucking...
Oh
it's what I mean. You got them. So I've fucked with the ones who expose themselves. I've had ones that are silent killers, to where they keep they're smart. Those are the smart ones. The ladies who keep your stuff off of Facebook and the ladies who keep your stuff off of Twitter, when it comes down to what you're doing, you are intelligent. You can play any dude probably that fucking tries to talk to you. You won't be able to play somebody like me because I've dealt with it already and I know how to read.
Yep.
But there are certain ones out there who are silent killers, and they turn out to be dirtier than the ones who put their shit out there.
And you gotta be careful for those who come off like pretty cool, you know. And,
don't remind me.
And then and then you just know that there's something up with that person.
Well, that ties back into the double standards, because it goes with,
always
I'm
trust
not
your gut, honestly.
that is
if
true.
your gut is your best friend in this, because I don't know a guy who doesn't have that like little doubt, like, you know, something feels wrong here. There's no guy that 110% goes, oh, this is great. I just found the perfect girl on Facebook.
I wish in the past
you did.
I would follow my gut instead of just pushing to the side saying, maybe it's just how I feel. But damn, that's just...
Oh, I've ignored my gut.
You know, and it's not... You have your gut feeling versus trust issues. That's what it comes down to for a lot of people. And you have to be able to be strong enough to distinguish the two there, because your gut feeling is going to clearly tell you, if you know, I mean, it's just, there's a difference between not trusting what somebody says and feeling a certain way about a specific topic. So if you feel a certain way, or you know, so hence the last girl I was talking to, the blonde, you know, she easily fit in gut feeling. But I did not go with that because I thought that was just me personally. Not that I got deep enough to make it to where it was that serious, but I should have known. But I could have stopped it ahead of time.
Now I got a question for Kills.
Oh,
now,
God.
given your past 2 relationships, right?
I knew this is where it was.
Given your past 2 relationships,
let's hope nobody gets.
Do you wish you would have followed your gut feeling? And if you did have a gut feeling, what were your gut feelings in those relationships?
Last 2.
Or even the most recent one with
Oh no! I know the last 2.
Okay.
Believe me, I know. The last one, there was no gut feeling.
Okay.
That one was a blind side.
Okay.
and I also consider it a learning experience. So I would have done nothing differently with that
Okay,
one.
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the philosophy. I've probably said this a million times in the past. I try not to live the life with any regrets because ultimately it got me to where I am now, which I'm pretty happy with. But the one before, there were certainly multiple occasions with gut instincts, and I foolishly ignored my gut on numerous occasions. Really came back to bite me multiple times. That one, I would have done a little differently and trusted my gut sooner. But that being said, still learning experience.
Now,
If it came up now, I'd go, hey, this was familiar. Fuck that.
now, if you were given a chance to do that relationship all over, would there be anything that you would change, or like have done to?
Not dating a cunt.
Okay, that works.
Does that count?
That works. I mean, I'll give you that one. I mean, I could feel the same way too. Okay, I'll use that one too because that's definitely true. Okay, so
Sorry to be blunt.
Well, I pretty much fell back though. Like whenever I fell back, she would just come back to me. It was the last situation that occurred there that kind of made it to where shit just ended abruptly, I guess you can say. But I mean, it was nothing. I mean, I'm to the point now where if shit like that happens, I'm really nowhere near as phased by it as what I was before. Like I didn't go to her fucking looking for answers. I tried to make things right. She was being flaky. I was like, all right. And same thing with the chick now. I mean, like when I saw that shit, I was like, yeah, I'm not taking you serious. Well, that whole double standard topic, it fits in with them. That's like about 90% of the double standards thing just fits with women. So, all right, we're done bashing ex-girlfriends for today.
Hey,
No,
I would like to congratulate us on waiting so long since we've done it. It used to be like every other podcast where we bashed one of our exes. It's been like forever since we have. So that's a record. Let's try to.
It's been a while
Let's
since
see if we
I
can
could.
last a little bit longer.
Oh, anybody staying?
Yeah,
Anybody?
no, I got you. I was just trying to save everybody from saying.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, is it already brewing, or are you just gonna work on it?
Wait, is Brian gonna fucking qualify for this one?
Well, I got nothing brewing like last
Brian
time,
has nothing
so
left to lose.
let it ride. Oh, yeah, it was an idea I threw out there of a little show we're going to try to do. Who took Nathan's job this week? Starring Nathan. Anybody who doesn't know Nathan, we've talked about him previously on the podcast. He also helps manage our Facebook page. So if you've been on there, you've probably seen him post a lot. So it's going to be a weekly show, hopefully, for our sake, not for Nathan. Nathan would like to have a job by now. Please do that.
That's going to be funny. All right, guys. Well, this is time where we wrap it up. YouTube, thank you for viewing. Anywhere where we share this, thank you for listening. I'm Greg, Des, Brian. We are the ShowStoppers.
Later.